All right, everyone. This is the video that I'm making for those of you who were gone on Monday and need instructions on what to do for this virtual color lab. This will also be good for students who maybe need a refresher on what to do for this. So, if you already know what you're doing, you already know what this assignment is, this video is probably not for you. Unless you want a refresher, but this is for the students who need some more instruction on this assignment. So, if you hear a bunch of banging and scratching in the background of this video, that's my pet rabbit Oreo chewing on her cage, trying to find a way out. We got her a new cage, and she's making a lot of noise next to me. I've tried to time this video in between her chewing, but we'll see how well it works. Okay, so. This is the Geology Virtual Color Lab. In the past, I've done this color lab on paper, not virtually, and so this year it looks a bit different than it has in the past. I'll show you some examples at the end of this video of ones done in the past where the instructions have been different, but just so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm looking for. Again, the instructions will be different, but it's a color lab all the same. Basically, a color lab in my class is going to be some sort of presentation. In the past, when it's been done in person, it was a poster presentation, but because we're doing this virtually, I'm going to be much more open to other forms of media. In fact, in my head when I put this together for this year, I imagine that most students would be doing this on Google Slides, making a PowerPoint presentation, or a slideshow presentation. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. If you would like to do other formats, if you have some other way of doing a presentation that you would like to do, I am also okay with that as long as we talk about it first. Send me an email and talk to me about it first. I will give you some other options at the end of this video as well, as far as things that I've already kind of gone through and talked to other students about if you would like to do those. So stick around for the end of the video for that information. Okay. Again, this is a poster, a virtual poster or a presentation, and I think when you're doing some sort of presentation, whether it be a poster or a slideshow or a video or even an essay or something like that, I think it's important to have an audience in mind. So for this presentation, you're going to pretend that we're presenting this to the freshman science class. We're not actually presenting this to a freshman science class, but that is who your audience is. I chose this audience for you because freshmen are fairly smart in the way of science, but they're not geology experts like you are, and so you're going to be teaching them about it. Okay, you're going to be teaching them about geology. If you're doing slides, I put this on here when I was thinking of this being a slideshow presentation, but if you're not doing slides, if you're doing some other format, you can disregard this. But this isn't going to be this isn't going to be a one slide poster probably, or at least it doesn't have to be. So again, I'll show you some examples of what has been done in the past. These big red letters here, this is important. All text must be in your own words. In some of our homework assignments, I've been a little lenient on copy pasting because I figured if you knew where the answer was, you knew it well enough to figure out where to copy paste from. I was okay with that for some of the answers. In this presentation, do not copy and paste text. If you find a diagram or a picture online, you can absolutely use the pictures. You don't have to come up with your own images. But if that image has text on it, let's say it's a labeled diagram, you either need to find something else or figure out a way to delete those labels or remove those and modify it to have your own labels. So all text, all of the text on your presentation, if it's letters, it needs to be in your own words. If it's on there, it needs to be in your own words. Okay, so don't copy and paste completed diagrams and turn that in. You can modify them to put it in your own words. Okay. So the instructions. You're going to choose a title. Your title of your presentation can be as serious or as silly as you choose. Some of the examples that I will show you at the end of this presentation the geosphere and rock cycle, or the layers of the Earth. Another one is scientific information about our giant floating space rock. Okay, so you can be silly, you can be creative, or you can be serious. It doesn't matter to me, but please make sure that it is relevant to the information on your presentation. Okay. Again, I imagine this was going to be slides, but it doesn't have to be slides. But you need a labeled diagram of the layers of the Earth, showing the layers of the from the core to the crust. This needs to be to scale as best as you can. If you're going to go find an image online, you probably don't have to worry about this too much, because you're going to have a hard time finding out if it's to scale. But if you create your own diagram, make sure that your crust is not, like 2/3 the thickness of the Earth and then a little thin sliver of the mantle. I mean, try to make it close. It doesn't have to be perfect, but make it as close to scale as you can. Okay. And then, along with your diagram, it can be included as part of your diagram, or it can be separate. You need to include these next 3 bullet points. You need to include the thickness of the layer that you're talking about, and put that in kilometers, because this is science class and we should be using the metric system. But also put that in miles, because this is America and we think in miles typically. I know at least I do. So just include both. This information is out there. The miles is in my notes. You can easily convert from miles to kilometers, or you can convert from kilometers to miles if you use Google or some other source to find the thickness. So include the thickness, and include it in both kilometers and in miles. Okay, that's bullet point number 1, or piece of information number 1 for each layer. The next thing you need to do is tell me what it's made out of. What is this layer made out of? Is it made out of metal? Is it made out of molten rock? Is it made out of bread? Is it made out of hard rock? What is it made out of? Tell me what the composition of this layer is. Okay, and then the last piece of information for each layer needs to be 1 additional fact. And I have given plenty in the notes. If you can't think of one from the notes, or you can't find one in the notes, go check out Google or Wikipedia or some other source. Find another fact about each layer. All right? And then included with your diagram, your labeled diagram and this information, you also need to include a diagram of the rock cycle. The rock cycle is what we just went over last week before we talked about weathering and erosion. And so give me a labeled diagram of the rock cycle, and then tell me how each rock is made. This can be in pictures, this can be in bullet points, or this can be somehow included in the diagram, but I need to know how each type of rock is made. To make this really easy on you, I've created a rubric here. The rubric shows how to get all of your points. I'm not grading you on your artistic ability. I'm not grading you on your creativity, or even on your ability to put together a good presentation. I'm grading you on this information. Do you have the information that I'm looking for? Okay. The first thing is worth 13 points, and that is your labeled diagram of the Earth's layers. That is worth 13 points just by itself, just the diagram being labeled. Okay. And then, for each of these layers, there's 7 of them, I'm looking for 3 pieces of information: the thickness, the composition, and that additional fact about each layer. Notice that each one is worth 3 points, so the thickness is worth 1, composition is worth 1, and that additional fact is worth 1. If you're wondering what layers you need to include in your diagram, this is the list. These layers, the crust, the lithosphere, the asthenosphere, the upper mantle, the lower mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. These 7 layers need to be both in your diagram and include these 3 pieces of information about each. Again, this can be part of your diagram, or this can be separate from your diagram, these 3 pieces of information. It can be part of or separate. It doesn't matter to me, just as long as you are able to show all of the information there. Okay? And then include a diagram of the rock cycle, which is worth 10 points, and tell me how each rock is made. How is an igneous rock made? How is a sedimentary rock made? And how is a metamorphic rock made? These are worth 2 points each. So the rock cycle is worth 10, and each of these is worth 2, which takes you to a total of 50 points. The last 5 points are for using your class time wisely. To get these 5 points, you need to send me some sort of progress that you have made before the end of your block. I'll be looking at timestamps. When was the email sent? Okay. So send it before the end of the block to get these 5 points. Show me that you have used class time wisely by making some sort of progress. This presentation is due February 9th at midnight, which is next Tuesday. It's not due yet, so you don't have to finish it in class, but I need to see some progress. Okay? Show me something. All right, so for the last few slides in this presentation, I've got some examples from previous years. I've got 6 of them. But be aware, these big red letters here, be aware, the directions for these past assignments are not the same as the directions for yours. So don't just go and look at these and copy them, because the instructions have changed from year to year. Okay. The first one is one that I showed in class. This one is very different than what I'm asking you guys to do, but you can see kind of what I'm looking for as far as what is the color lab. Now, again, this is on paper, but yours can be in other formats as well. Here's another one, and this is very similar to what you were going to be doing. There's a labeled diagram of the layers of the Earth, although they don't include those other pieces of information. And here's a labeled diagram of the rock cycle with some information about the rock types. Here's another one here. This is just the diagram of the Earth. So this was a different assignment. Again, here's another assignment. This one is slightly different with volcanoes. And here's another volcano one. And here's another one with just layers of the Earth. I wanted to include these just to give you an idea of kind of what I'm looking for in general. But again, if you're using Google Slides, yours is going to look different than these. If you're using Wix or you're making a video, yours may look different. The important thing here is this rubric. Follow the rubric, okay? Follow the rubric and get all your points. The last thing that I need to tell you about is format. Again, I've mentioned Google Slides a few times. If you want to use Google Slides, that's kind of what I imagined most people using. But I have had students come up with better ways to present their information. Better for them, not necessarily for you. I have students making presentations on Wix, so they're designing a website on Wix to show this information. Okay, I have students making presentations using something called Canva, which I have never used, but it's a presentation building website, and if you know how to use it and you're familiar with it, that is an option that you can use. I have another couple of students using something called Lucid Chart. Again, I don't know what Lucid Chart is. I've never used it, but from a quick Google search, it appears to be some presentation making website. So if you want to use those, that's totally fine. If you want to make a video, that's okay. And if you're not comfortable doing this on paper, or I'm sorry, on a computer, you're more than welcome to do it on paper as well. I just don't have paper or supplies to give you. So if you have the supplies and you would rather do this on paper, have at it. That's fine as well. And you'll just send me a picture of it when you're done. Okay. If you have questions on this, feel free to email me. I'll check my email as often as I can. I will respond to you as quickly as I can. You can ask your classmates if you have questions, and I'm not getting back to you soon enough. This is due February 9th, which is next Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. So it's due at midnight on February 9th. Okay? All right. Good luck. Ask me questions through email if you need to, and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Good luck and have a great day.